Gloria, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, Brandon.
Of course, of course. So, for my audience, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got into the space, wanted to work in ontology, like what got you into blockchain and wanting to kind of be around it?
Sure. So I used to work for a pretty established global organizations and spent some 6 years in Europe, and then I returned to China, joined the venture scene. So it was a fast-growing period for the internet-based applications adoption. I think that was the trend worldwide, but it was particularly interesting in China. So I went back and I was working for a early stage incubator. So we basically work with entrepreneurs who want to be starting their startups, utilizing certain aspects of the internet to transform either a traditional area or to provide some different new value propositions enabled by the business model of internet. So I worked there for like 2 years and a half, and seeing it's getting more and more expensive for customer acquisition in the internet phase. So I started to wonder why, and really dig into the some reasons behind that. And then I was also sort of by chance, one of my friends, she was working for Sequoia Capital in China, and she also invested in a bunch of internet-based startups. And then she got into the blockchain thing. So she was telling me about like how this is going to be a completely different business model for applications. How this is going to be a revolution from a lot of the norms that we used to know how things are done. So I got pretty intrigued with the entire vision of the space, and also certain new innovations in the space. So she got me introduced to the founders of Ontology, Li Jun and Da Hongfei. So I got to know about the company, and I felt pretty good about what they're trying to do. They're basically building a enterprise centric blockchain infrastructure called Ontology, and this infrastructure enables different applications to do all kinds of stuff, but utilizing decentralized identity and other blockchain features. And they are doing a incubation program to empower a lot of DApps, decentralized applications at that time. So I joined Ontology, working mostly on incubation and ecosystem expansion. And so over the 2 years and a half I have been here, we've tried different ways of driving blockchain adoption, decentralized identity adoption. So we've been growing together. Our insights, our experiences, our understanding of the space and the path for adoption, together with many other projects also working on decentralized identity, such as Sovereign, such as projects in consensus like Uport and many others. So it's been pretty interesting. Now we see that decentralized finance is really becoming very popular, even among the people who do not know so much about crypto and blockchain. But we still kind of have our mind and our energy on decentralized identity, and also trying to see where is the cross point between decentralized finance and decentralized identity. And also previously we were very much heavy at looking at enterprise adoptions and this real world adoptions, so-called real world adoption. But they're also more looking into very crypto native scenarios, crypto native use cases. And this is also something we've learned watching how DeFi is growing momentum, how NFT is growing momentum. So it's very promising also to think about crypto native scenarios for identity. So this has been a journey. I personally enjoyed it because I really do believe in the value of decentralized identity, the value of blockchain. So yeah, still very much learning every day and trying to figure things every day as well.
Is that a huge area for you guys, decentralized identity? Like, is that something you guys like spend your the most time on, or is it a big product of yours?
Yeah, definitely. So if there's a label, if there's a feature for ontology as a infrastructure, it's decentralized identity protocols. And also decentralized identity is very closely connected to decentralized data exchange. So that's the protocol that we have been working on. So it's pretty much interconnected. Yeah.
Very cool. You mentioned DeFi too. Like, is that another area that you guys want to jump into, or have you already started building applications for DeFi? Or
So DeFi is obviously a way. So to us, it's a way for adoption, right? We launched this application called Wing.finance last year in September. So it's a lending platform. Our initial idea is to have our own kind of like a platform, so we can try to see what kind of innovation could be there and what's their potential utilization of decentralized identity. So as a let's say typical lending platform, so Wing.finance does over collateralized lending, but we also want to see if credit-based lending could be something that can be having its own adoption in the DeFi field. So that's an innovation of Wing.finance. So we use the decentralized credit score, which is also needed with the application of decentralized identity. So people don't necessarily have to collateralize $2 and borrow $1, right? So that's a very old-fashioned way of doing finance. It's basically probably dating back to the time when Venice was still a trade center, right? So basically, you don't have much credit, then you have to collateralize a lot to get some credit. But if there's a way to kind of reflect how your behavior has been in the past, so in the modern finance, you basically do not need any collateralization almost, right, to borrow. You have your credit card, it has all the track records of your spending and your income. Then you use that track record basically to borrow money without any collateralization. So that's the idea that we're trying to explore. So if we could, because you have decentralized, track records basically with your assets in DeFi, and if we can link that to your decentralized identity and have these data source to generate some sort of like a credit score for you, and based on the score, you basically can lower your collateralization rate and borrow crypto. So that's the innovation of Wing.finance. You can say that it's basically a playground for ontology to figure out what's the intersection between identity and DeFi. And we recently launched another new pool. It's called Any Pool. So this pool is going to be even more innovative. It's going to be able to collateralize anything to crypto. So I probably don't go into too much details there because there's a lot to announce, you'll hear more from our team on that. But basically, we have crossed $300 million US of total value locked a couple of days ago. So this is a very good momentum. We're also launching Wing.Finance on Ethereum and also upcoming on Binance Smart Chain. So yeah, it's doing pretty well. The DAO community has been very active, even compared with some very old, not very old, but like older lending platforms. So we're pretty proud of our community engagement level. But yeah, as I mentioned, this is one exploration that we do, but we're still very much focusing on decentralized identity and data.
Yeah, just to touch on that again for a second, because it's a new concept for me, this whole idea of credit-based lending. So if you want a decentralized track record for someone for credit-based lending, how is that done in blockchain? Or how is that already done in blockchain?
So basically imagine you have your addresses, right? So address has your asset information. For a DeFi application, you could configure your own definition of how that credit score is computed. You can have your own definition of how the algorithm should be or how the data source for that algorithm should be. So for Wing.Finance, we use certain attributes such as like your asset amount on different chains, right? On different chains associated with your address. So the simple hypothesis is that the higher the asset you own, the lower the possibility for you probably to just default at a very
A lower default rate.
Yeah, small amount of borrowing. Yeah. So this is one of the logic, but you can configure other ones. For example, like if you think if a DeFi project thinks that if this person has multiple types of assets, I don't know, or have certain trading records that more than 2 years, right? I don't know. Like it's based on about their behaviors of the users. So they can configure their own. The whole decentralized identity and credit score from Ontology is very much open for other projects to use as well. So it's just some building blocks, some Legos that they can put together for themselves.
Okay, makes sense. So it's pretty much like attached more or less to the address than it is the actual person, because if it's decentralized, then it's kind of hard to attach your data to that.
Yeah, so we're experimenting different things. It doesn't have to be only associated with asset records or asset attributes on that address. So O-score, so basically O-score is the name for that whole credit score protocol. You could also have other data sources for verification, for example, social verification, like your Twitter account, or your, if you want, you could also do like real world ID card verification. You can also verify through your usage of other applications, right? For example, certain projects say if you have certain donation records on Gitcoin, you're entitled for airdrops, right? So your certain donation records on Gitcoin could be a way to demonstrate you have been a responsible and active user in the DeFi world, and therefore your credit limit is a bit higher. So it's all kinds of possibilities with all kinds of data sources available in the crypto native world. So it's very much open for different interpretation, configuration, and creative ways of doing it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of creative ways, and it's definitely an early space. So I'm sure that all different kinds of solutions will crop up in time. Are you guys based in China?
So our headquarters is based in Singapore,
Oh, in
but a lot
Singapore.
of the development teams are in China, in Shanghai.
Where you
So
where are you right now?
I am, unfortunately, because of COVID, stuck in Shanghai.
Hmm.
But I was also in Europe for a couple of months last
Hmm.
year.
Okay, very cool. Do you usually
Very much.
work out of Shanghai or?
I basically split my time between Shanghai, Europe, um, uh, west coast of the States,
Hmm.
um, sometimes in Singapore, yeah, but mostly in Europe and China, I would say, during the year.
I've always wanted to go to Shanghai. Do you like it there? What's it like?
I think you'll like it. I'm
Is it
pretty,
cool?
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a very dynamic metropolitan city, and you'll be surprised how diverse it is actually here with the
Hmm.
different lifestyles and different art and entrepreneurial scene as well, and people with all kinds of all walks of life. They're having different spaces for a lot of interesting things going on. I think you will like it.
Is it very
Um,
business centric? Like, do a lot of people go there to work and do business? And
yeah, it's one of the business center in China. Very also very heavily focusing on finance as well.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of export-oriented industries around Shanghai. So Shanghai is also becoming a headquarter for local export businesses, and also a lot of international companies have their headquarters in Shanghai as well.
Nice. Maybe my country will let me go to Shanghai one of these days.
Well, if we can have like a immunity passport or something like that, I would love to see that happening soon. So there's certain mobility can be restored in this world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's dynamics between the US and China are a little complicated right now, but who knows? Maybe in the future I'll be able to go and see all these cool places.
Ah,
So
where are you based?
I'm based in, so like half the year I live in Medellin, Colombia,
Ah,
and then the other half the year I live in the US, mostly in Vegas. Right now I'm in Miami, so I'm like all over the place. Um,
oh, wow. So
yeah,
now you're in Miami?
I'm in Miami right now, but I'll leave tomorrow and go back to Colombia. I'm all over the place all the time, but I'm a US citizen, so going to China is difficult for us because the government's like, "Why would you wanna go to China? Why would you wanna go there to that country?" And I'm like, "Can't be that bad, is it?"
Well, I think the situation will be improving a lot with the new administration. It's actually kind
Mhm.
of a bad idea to ban the the traveling and communication between the two countries because a lot of
Mhm.
business are happening in between. Tesla has a huge factory in Shanghai,
Oh,
gotten
yeah.
a deal from the Shanghai government for very cheap land and a lot of good policies for them to build cars here, right? So they can reduce the price, and a lot of investor friends of mine are very bullish on Tesla because they also believe that the China factory make it much more profitable than before, and this is only the start. So there's more potential in the business. So I personally don't believe in so much of. I think there's definitely a lot of populism working in the political scene that makes it difficult. But from the business communities, I know in China as well as in the U.S., people are very much wanting to do business with each other, and U.S. is one of the most important innovation space, right? You can see that also in the crypto and blockchain world. We're also growing our team in the U.S. And China is a very big market, and also China is also pretty good at implementing innovation. So that dynamic, that collaborative dynamic is actually pretty good for both. I think so this is also the reason why what we're trying to capitalize on as well. And I think more business can see that as well. I heard, by the way, I heard Miami is pretty teeming.
Yeah, Miami's popping right now. Yeah, Miami is one of the few places in the US right now that's completely opened up, and they've kind of just said, fuck it, like with the whole COVID thing. So like that in Texas. And right now everyone's running to Miami to spend money and party and take their mask off and do business. And right now the economy is booming in Miami. Housing prices, apartment prices are through the roof. Yacht sales are through the roof. Tourism's through the roof. So yeah, it's pretty cool here.
I've never been to Miami. I'd love to go. I've been to Colombia once.
Yeah? Where?
Bogota.
Bogota? Yeah, Bogota's a cool city. It's a very big city. It's kind of cold, a little rainy sometimes. I think they do one of the big crypto conferences in Bogota, like DevCon or something like that.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of years ago when I was working for another organization. So we had a chapter in Colombia, and I was sort of like the coach for that chapter. Went to Bogota and went up the mountain. I think it's a lovely city, lovely country.
Oh, it absolutely is. Medellin is like my favorite city right now. It's beautiful there. It's warm, same temperature year round, same climate. Building a podcast studio down there too. You should come down and we can do a live episode sometime.
Yeah, that would be great. I've heard of that city, just never had to go. Yeah, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon.
Well, you're invited, so just let me know when you're ready, and we'll set it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
do you have any?
I'm trying to think. With Ontology, are you guys mostly focused on building, enterprise-grade applications for companies like within China or in Asia? Or are you guys also looking out to the West or to Europe? To some other places as well, or to Latin America, or where is your market?
Right. Because of our team has a base in China, so we definitely watch very closely how the industry develops inside of China and try to do experiments, right? But given the very unique attributes of decentralized identity, we think our market is going to be mostly in Europe and the US, because so from like a very very non-technical way of understanding what decentralized identity is trying to do is basically we all know that Web 2, let's say Web 2 applications, they provide services to you, and they lock your data in their servers, right? So because they data in their own servers, so they can provide free services to you, but in exchange, they use that data to target you, put labels on you to recognize your advertisement worth and sell targeted stuff to you and earn loads of advertisement money, right? Basically, that's the business model of internet companies. So it's the same as these data basically define who you are, right? And those data are also locked in the servers of service providers. So the entire thing we're trying to do is to free that, free the definition, the source of defining who you are and what kind of track records you had that defines who you are, to be completely self-sovereign. So self-sovereign identity is the vision for decentralized identity. So basically you have the freedom to control the kind of data that you demonstrate who you are. For example, if you want to so if someone wants to know if you have worked in a particular company, right? So they don't have to go to some random site and look you up and try to see what kind of records are there, or they don't have to maybe call your employee and behind your back and say like, okay, if this person ever worked in your place. So basically what they do in the decentralized identity world would be they would request you to provide a proof to say you have worked in a particular company. And then you would ask your company to provide a proof. And you show the proof to this person or organization who requested only the part of the information that they need with your authorization. The rest of the information you do not have to. Another typical example is if you want to prove that you are eligible to buy alcohol, you're more than 21 in the States, for example, you have to show an ID of yours, right? And then that ID contains a lot of information that is more than your age. But with decentralized identity and also the associated zero knowledge proof technology, they could just ask like if you're above 21 or not, and then the ID issuer as a trusted source will be able to answer that question with a yes and no. And then you just return that yes or no to that alcohol seller, and then you get your alcohol. So this whole thing is very much privacy protected. We did a minimum viable product with Daimler Mobility last year. So the idea is that when you have your car, it's an Internet of Things. It's connected to the internet, connected to many other services. Imagine if the car operating system knows a lot of things about you, and these all information, including your route, your even your I don't know, your weight, your mood, if there's like facial recognition also enabled, even conversations you had inside of the car, and whatever, all under inside of their own server room. That's pretty scary, right? Mm-hmm. So if this whole thing, the entire setup of the operating system when you're entering a smart car is decentralized. And you use your fingerprint to unlock the car, you get into the car. You want, for example, like a map service, and the map service provides that service to you based on your decentralized identity, and disconnects from all your data and your identity after services provision is completed. And another service provider will be able to get some information from the previous application to provide a more customized service to you while this whole thing is within your authorization, so you know exactly who is using what data to do what. And this is all controlled by your self-sovereign identity and data. Then it's a much safer approach. So a lot of car companies such as Daimler, they were interested in solutions because they believe that their clients will be asking for more privacy protected ways of engaging with their services. And they also know if they want to beat players such as Apple building cars nowadays as well, and that there are a bunch of Chinese companies like Xiaomi and Baidu, these internet companies nowadays also announcing that they're going to build cars. Imagine they're going to have their centralized operating system running those cars, right? Mm-hmm. So if the car companies want to have a differentiated way to win their customers over, they cannot compete with a centralized software operating system. iOS or some other systems are pretty good nowadays. So they need to look something else which is valuable for their clients, but also a differentiated competition point. So that's why they look into decentralized systems to run the cars, to engage services for their users, drivers. So this is something that we were doing last year with them. Now we also see that enterprise adoption is a very long road. It takes many years for industries to get on board, implement, produce, services or products consumers can use. So we'll keep on working on that, and we will prioritize markets where privacy is more appreciated or is more important to everyday people. And at the same time, we also look into crypto native fields. So credit-based lending was one of the directions. The other ones could be pretty simple stuff, like in order to vote, right, in a DAO, or in order to qualify for airdrops in a new project, you have to prove that you're not a robot, or you're not, this address is not one of the 100 addresses someone has, right? So then you're not Sybil resistant. So I think this type of scenarios, decentralized identity is going to be helpful. And so recently, I have been looking into non-fungible token marketplaces, for example, art and digital arts, NFTs. So you also need a way to verify if this artist is actually a renowned artist or has a track record of producing arts. It's not someone just use their name or use their digital products to fake, right? So these type of platforms also need some sort of verification. You can choose to verify in a very centralized way. Someone looks at all the information and say, okay, this might be a good artist. But you can also do the crypto native or the blockchain way, which is decentralized verification based on decentralized identity and verifiable credentials. So this is something we have been working with some platforms already. So hopefully we'll be able to announce their names as pioneers in this direction. But we see this as something valuable to add to the crypto and blockchain scene.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that you can do with it for a lot of different, uses with a lot of different companies, like you kind of explained. So it's really cool and exciting what you can do with decentralized identity. Do you guys have existing partnerships that are public or that you're able to talk about, that you're building use cases for, or that are testing out applications on Ontology?
So we had this partnership with Daimler Mobility, and now we're evolving this into an independent project. And we are having a partnership with a crowdsourcing work platform in the States called Micro Workers. They provide work, digital work for workers around the world. So we help them to use a crypto way to get their payments, as well as having a like a record of their work certification. So they can take it with them, and they can actually show it in the future as part of their resume to other platforms. And we're also working, as I said, we're working with some NFT platforms to do verification for artists and artwork, and also buyers. So these are the current directions. And Wing.Finance is one of the partners that we have within the Ontology ecosystem that tries out this whole credit score idea. And we've also seen some more DeFi projects looking into the credit score direction. But I think this is still a bit early. So if we have something that we can announce, we'll definitely share how it works with the community.
What do you think of DeFi? It's a pretty cool space, huh?
It's magical, right? So
yeah, it's magical.
This whole liquidity mining concept I would say together was the bullish market for institutional adoption of Bitcoin really got this whole thing soaring. I think still very much early stage. We're starting to see more strategy vaults, more issuance products, and more kind of like different synthetic assets, right? I think these are still pretty early stage innovations in this space. The most amazing thing DeFi was able to achieve is that previously cannot really imagine how easily people, let's say people from Colombia can put money next to people from Ireland and people from Vietnam, right? So now it's all possible. This is not possible in the traditional finance world, but this is possible in a new DeFi world. And you can do investments on any products, any financial products, without much of a national restriction of boundaries and jurisdiction, which is so probably a concern. But I think the innovation side is much bigger than the concern.
Is there restriction for Chinese citizens to be able to, utilize DeFi and stuff like that?
Yeah. Let's just say that, for example, like American citizens could open an account with Coinbase, right? It's not like legally clear that a Chinese citizen can do that. So they can do that, but at their own risk, basically.
But right. Is it like illegal? Like, will they get in trouble for owning Bitcoin or something like that? Or is it still kind of up in the air?
I think the approach the Chinese legislators are similar to what some European legislators are doing. So they wouldn't say this is illegal. They just have to figure out a way to regulate it in a legal way. They also think this is probably still very small scale, and it's pretty innovative and changing very fast. So they want to kind of see how it goes, right? Before they have a more clear and structured way of dealing with it. So this is something that we've seen. Maybe the regulatory developments in other countries will have inspirations for some countries to follow, right? As I think Germany and Singapore and the U.S. Probably will have more pioneering regulatory policies that can kind of really test for the rest of the world to see how it goes and do something based on that.
Yeah, it's more likely that those jurisdictions lead global legislation and regulation when it comes to crypto. But it'd be cool to get China into the market. It's such a big market, so many people. So it'd be nice if they'd come around to it and just kind of let everyone use Bitcoin. But I don't know. It's not really how they roll, huh?
Yeah, people are mining Bitcoins.
I know.
Yeah, it's not let's just say it's not within the current legal structure, but it's kind of normal in the economic development of China. So this is an angle to understand the Chinese economic development. So what is not allowed is kind of allowed.
What do you mean by that? How's it kind of allowed?
Like in the very beginning, private economy, right? In the 1980s, 1970s, end of 70s, 1980s, when China was trying to open up and do economic revolution, private was not allowed. So before that, private economy was not allowed, and in the limbo years, it was not clearly not allowed, right? And a lot of innovation just spurs from that. And then these innovations will also change the direction of policy making. and they got more formalized into new regulations and laws. So this has always been a way of how China tries things in a small scale and see how it goes, and then or allow it in a sort of like uncharted area for some time, and then figure out how to do it in a more structured way. So yeah, I think China is still an important player in the crypto space, but definitely in terms of application level adoptions, we see a lot of potential in markets where people start to really not happy with how centralized service providers are capitalizing on their data to do whatever they want. And this is something, still in a very early stage of acknowledging this in Asia. I wouldn't say it's only in China, I would say in Asia. But I think things will change soon as well if there's more such awareness and consensus happening globally.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get to that point. We'd love to see the Chinese economy come around to it and, let the government give them access to Bitcoin and stuff like that. So hopefully it shapes up and there's some more confidence with it. But like regarding Ontology, what's the roadmap look like for you guys, going into the rest of 2021? Do you have some big plans or announcements or partnerships you're working on, or what should people know?
Ontology is trying to abstract its decentralized identity protocols to be also connecting it with other ecosystems as well. So now Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, and some other popular chains, they all have this OntID identifier registered. So there's certain implementation of Ontology DID in their ecosystem made possible. Now applications can use our SDKs to use decentralized identity and verifiable credentials on any, basically not any chain, but like a lot of these most populated chains that they want. So it's inherently cross-chain in that sense. Wing.finance will be supporting other chains as well. Ontology chain will be supporting EVM. This is part of the roadmap this year. And we're also building a layer 2 on Ethereum, capitalizing on the Ontology blockchain and also our DID protocols. So I think that the general direction in our roadmap this year is to be more connected with other ecosystems and having more integrated collaborations to drive adoptions for Ontology identity framework. So yeah, it's a very dynamically changing space. So I think new partnerships are hard to predict.
Yeah.
Changing every quarter.
That's good though. It seems like you guys got a lot going on and it's exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to roll out the rest of the year and going forward. But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I think we went for quite a while. So Gloria, thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast and share about Ontology and decentralized identity and then DeFi and what's going on in China and your life in Shanghai, and yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate your time and also this conversation. I had fun. I hope your audiences will be as well.
I'm glad you had fun. I'm sure they'll enjoy it.